On a weekly basis, with our clients and investor interactions, we inevitably are asked whether or not company ABC or XYZ is set to report their next quarterly results, when they are. Because stock prices are ultimately driven by their earnings, these annual and quarterly reporting dates are significant days on the calendar. Some companies press release the exact date, so we are prepared in advance for that big day, but many will report without a set day. In those cases, we are able to estimate a range from past filings or communicate with management teams and they can give us an idea of a range of when those results are coming out. But we can also use drop dead dates or deadlines for the reports to be released. And I'll go over those today. So when do public companies file their quarterly and annual financial statements or their earnings statements? Let's look at Canadian public company information first. Well, to maintain a public listing on a Canadian exchange, that would be the TSX, the Venture Exchange, the CSE, a company must file audited annual financial statements through SEDAR, or the System for Electronic Document Analysis and Retrieval system. Now, listed companies must also file interim or what are quarterly results every 3 months. These are unaudited financial statements. The audited annual financial statements must be prepared in Canada. This is in Canada, according to IFRS, and a company's board of directors must approve them. Now, in both cases, the comparative figures from company's previous fiscal year for the applicable time periods are also required to be reported. Let's look at those deadlines, annual statements. The TSX listed companies are required to file audited annual statements within 90 days of their financial year end. Venture or CSE listed companies are required to file audited statements within 120 days of their fiscal year end. Now, interim or quarterly filing deadlines, the TSX listed companies are required to file these quarterly statements within 45 days of the end of the interim period. TSX Venture or CSE listed companies are required to file interim or quarterly financial statements within 60 days of the end of the interim period. Let's just quickly look at US companies here. In the US, most companies, public companies, are required to file Form 10-K with the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, within 90 days of their fiscal year end. This annual report provides a comprehensive overview of the company's business, cash flow statement, and like an MD&A in Canadian markets, an overview of the business on an annual basis. Most reporting companies in the US also file what are called Form 10-Qs on a quarterly basis, or their quarterly statements. This form includes unaudited financial statements and provides a continuing view on the company's financial position during the year. The 10-K or quarterly statements are required to be filed for each of the first 3 quarters of a company's fiscal year, are due within 45 days of the close of a quarter. So that will end that brief segment, and it'll give everyone out there an idea of when the statements are required. So if you're looking at a public company, most often they will issue a press release stating, when the statements are due out. If you don't see that, you can look at the same statements. Say if you're looking at Q3 2024, you can look at their Q3 2023 to see when they were filed last year. It's likely within that 2-week range. If you're looking for a drop dead date, those dates that I just give you are the drop dead dates for them to file. Now, they can also have extensions on those, but I didn't want to get into too much detail on that. But you're looking for the drop dead dates to be the dates that I just went over.
Yeah, and typically you'll have a couple weeks every quarter where 90% or so of companies are going to release their financial results. So we just came through. We're basically at the tail end right now of Q2 earnings season. Usually US companies are a little bit earlier, Canadian companies a week or 2 later, but it's not about 85-90% of companies are usually within that 2 to 3 week time frame each quarter.
Yeah, it's certainly a busy period for us when we're looking over tons of financial statements. We wish they'd be more spread out. I mean, most companies are on a calendar year end. There are some companies that have off year ends are September 31st, for example. And you have a differing year end at that point, but that's why they say 125 days or 90 days following. It's not just 90 days following January or December 31st, for example. Depends on where the company's year end is. All right.
Yeah, I wonder. Sorry, just
no problem.
I wonder, like how long do we know? Like, if a company is non-timely, like, do we know if like there's like a specific rule of like how long they have? Because the reason I bring this up is a company that I've covered on the podcast before, Relic Health Technologies. The stock has been halted since January. I believe they've now missed basically 4 quarters, a full year of non-timely financial statements. But as far as I understand, the stock is still halted. Again, I'm just kind of bringing this up out of the blue on the podcast.
I mean, that can be a case by case basis, right? And like in this case, the Securities Exchange Commission is hoping, like the OSC is likely hoping at some point that they come out with some financial statements. We've seen companies get halted and just never come back, right?
Yeah,
you're going through a bankruptcy procedure, or the company's just completely dissolved, right? And in that case, like in the case you're talking about,
quickly looking, it's if the listed shares are suspended for 12 months, the issuer may be delisted. That's according to the TSX.
Okay,
there you go.
Interesting. But yeah, like Ryan said, I'm sure case by case. But yeah, okay, that's intriguing. So I mean, again, I think that they were halted in January of this year. So I mean, still a few months to go. But yeah, we'll
it's
see.
a bit of a steaming pile, that company. Let's be honest. Okay, moving on.